I learned to be quiet when I was 7 years old. That was the year my brother Julian was born. That was the year I stopped being a daughter and became background noise. I remember standing in the hospital hallway, holding my grandmother's hand, watching through the window as my parents cradled this tiny, perfect baby boy. My mother looked at him the way she used to look at me. My father's eyes were filled with something I'd never seen before. Pride. I pressed my small hand against the glass and waited for someone to notice me. No one did. That moment should have told me everything I needed to know about the next 18 years of my life. But I was 7. I still believed that if I was good enough, quiet enough, helpful enough, they'd see me again. I was wrong. Growing up in my house meant learning a very specific set of rules. Rules that were never spoken out loud, but understood, absorbed, embedded into my bones like a language I never asked to learn. Rule number 1. Julian's needs come first. Always. When he was a toddler and I was 10, I learned to make my own breakfast because Mom was too tired from staying up with him all night. I learned to walk to school alone because Dad needed to drive Julian to his special playgroup across town. I learned to do my homework in silence because Julian needed quiet time to nap. I told myself it was temporary. He was just little. It would get better. It didn't. When Julian was 8 and I was 15, I started working. Just small jobs at first. Babysitting for neighbors. Helping at the local library on weekends. Dog walking after school. My parents praised me for being so independent, so responsible. What they meant was, thank God we don't have to worry about you. Because Julian needed new equipment for soccer. Julian needed a tutor for math. Julian needed and I learned to need nothing. My father set up a savings account for me when I got my first real job at 16, a cashier position at the grocery store. He said it was to teach me about financial responsibility, about planning for my future. This is your money, Clara, he told me, his hand on my shoulder. We're just helping you manage it until you're ready. I felt seen. I felt cared for. I deposited every paycheck. Birthday money from my grandfather, cash from odd jobs, summer work, weekend shifts. For 4 years, I watched that number grow. For years of early mornings and sore feet and missed parties because I had to work. For years of saying no to things I wanted because I was saving for something bigger. College, an apartment, a life that was mine. I trusted them with my future. That was my mistake. It was a Tuesday when my world cracked open. I was 21. I'd been accepted into a nursing program that started in 3 months. I'd already looked at apartments near campus. I'd calculated exactly how much I'd need for the first semester, living expenses, books. I had enough. I'd made sure of it. I was sitting at the kitchen table, planning my budget on my laptop, when Julian walked in with a brand new MacBook Pro under his arm. The expensive one. The kind I'd looked at 100 times and told myself I couldn't justify. Nice laptop, I said, trying to keep my voice light. He grinned. That easy, golden child grin that had always opened every door for him. Yeah, Dad got it for me. Said I needed it for my applications. My stomach tightened. Applications, college apps, I'm applying to some film programs. Pretty competitive. So Dad said I needed professional equipment to make my portfolio stand out. I nodded, smiled, waited for him to leave. Then I opened my banking app. My fingers were shaking. I don't know why. I had no reason to be nervous. This was my account, my money. I was just checking the balance before I made my tuition payment. The screen loaded. I stared at the number. Then I refreshed it. Because surely there was a mistake. The number didn't change. For years of savings. For years of sacrifice, nearly empty. There was barely enough left to cover 1 month's rent, let alone tuition, deposits, books, living expenses. I couldn't breathe. The kitchen walls seemed to press in around me. I counted backward in my head, trying to remember the last time I'd checked the balance. 2 months, 3. How had I not noticed? Because you trusted them, a small voice whispered. Because you actually believed they were keeping it safe. I heard footsteps. My father walked in, pouring himself coffee like it was any other morning. Dad, my voice sounded strange. Distant. Can I ask you something? Sure, sweetheart. He didn't look at me. He was checking his phone. I just looked at my savings account. There's almost nothing there. He took a sip of coffee. Oh right, yeah, we had to move some funds around. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. For years, gone, and I shouldn't worry about it. Move funds where? I asked quietly. Julian needed equipment. You know how expensive film school applications are. And he needed the tutor for his SATs. Plus the application fees, the portfolio review costs. He waved his hand dismissively. It adds up. But it's an investment in his future, my future. That was my future, that was my money, I said. My voice was still quiet, still calm, but But something was cracking open inside my chest. Clara. Now he looked at me. That patient, slightly annoyed look he'd perfected over the years. It's family money. We all contribute to this household. Julian has real opportunities here. He's talented. He could really make something of himself. And I couldn't. I didn't say it out loud. I never said anything out loud. I need that money for school, I managed. For my nursing program, you can take out loans like everyone else. You're responsible. You'll be fine. He patted my shoulder, the same shoulder he'd squeezed 6 years ago, when he told me this account was mine. Besides, nursing is stable work. You'll pay them back easily. He left the kitchen. I sat there, staring at that number on my screen, understanding for the first time what I'd always been to them. Not a daughter. Resource. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my childhood bed, the same bed I'd had since I was -1, because there was never money to replace it. But apparently there was money for Julian's new laptop, and I stared at the ceiling. For years of my life. Reduced to we had to move some funds around. When the sun came up, I was still awake. I got dressed. I went to the bank. The woman at the counter was kind, professional. She pulled up my account history and printed out 6 months of statements without asking why. My hands were shaking. I sat in my car in the parking lot and read through every transaction. Withdrawal, thousands of dollars. Taken in chunks over the past 8 months. Soccer equipment. Music lessons Julian had taken for 3 weeks before quitting. A spring break trip I hadn't been invited on. Car repairs for my father's SUV. New furniture for the living room. And the laptop. Of course the laptop. My money. Spent on everyone but me. I should have driven home. I should have confronted them right then, but I didn't because something told me there was more. I went back to my childhood room and started searching quietly, methodically. My father kept files in his home office, a room I'd never been allowed to enter without knocking. But he was at work. My mother had taken Julian to visit colleges 3 hours away. The house was empty. I found the folder in the second drawer. I opened. Loan applications. Multiple banks, all in my name. Pre-approved offers. Paperwork half filled out. My social security number. My forged signature on one of them. They weren't just stealing what I'd already earned. They were stealing my future before I'd even lived it. My hands didn't shake this time. I took pictures of everything, every document, every forged signature, every pre-approval letter. Then I called the only person I knew would believe me. My grandfather answered on the second ring. Clara? It's 7 in the morning, Grandpa. My voice broke. I need help. Silence. Then, I'll be there in 20 minutes. He'd always been different from my parents, quieter, more watchful. He'd slip me $20 bills when no one was looking and ask me about school. Really ask. Not the performative kind of asking my parents did before turning the conversation back to Julian. He'd seen me when no one else did, when I showed him the bank statements and the loan papers. His face went hard in a way I'd never seen before. How long has this been happening? He asked. 8 months, maybe longer. I wiped my eyes. I trusted them. I know you did. He looked at the papers again, his jaw tight. This is financial abuse, Clara. You know that, right? I hadn't known. I hadn't had words for it. But hearing him say it out loud made something shift inside me. This wasn't normal. This wasn't family helping family. This was theft. What do I do? I whispered. He looked at me for a long moment. What do you want to do? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I thought about every time I'd been told to be quiet. Every time Julian's needs had been prioritized. Every time I'd swallowed my hurt and told myself it was fine. Every time I'd made myself smaller so they could feel bigger. I was done being small. I want them to see me, I said quietly. I want them to understand what they've done. My grandfather nodded slowly. Then we're going to need evidence, documentation, everything official. He tapped the loan papers. And we're going to need witnesses. Witnesses? Family dinner, he said. This Sunday. I'll tell your parents I want to see everyone together. They won't say no to me. He was right. They wouldn't. And Clara. He squeezed my hand. You don't have to be quiet anymore. Sunday dinner was always at my parents' house. I'd helped prepare these meals 100 times. Set the table, chopped vegetables, smiled and nodded while Julian talked about his latest project, and my parents hung on his every word. Tonight, I arrived late. Everyone was already seated when I walked in. My mother looked annoyed. My father checked his watch. Julian was on his phone. My grandfather met my eyes across the table and nodded once. Sorry I'm late, I said calmly, taking my seat. We were about to start without you, my mother said, passing the salad bowl to Julian first. Of course she was. We ate in relative silence for a few minutes. My mother asked Julian about his college visits. My father mentioned a potential internship opportunity for him. They talked around me, over me, through me. the way they always had. I set down my fork. I need to talk to everyone about something, I said. My mother glanced at me, impatient. Can it wait until after dinner? No, I said quietly. It can't. Something in my voice made her stop. I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder, the bank statements, the loan papers. I placed them in the center of the table. I want to know, I said, my voice steady now, why my savings account is empty, and I want to know why there are loan applications in my name that I never signed. The silence was immediate. Heavy. My father's face went pale. My mother's eyes widened. Julian looked confused. What are you talking about? I didn't look at him. I kept my eyes on my parents for years, I said. I saved for years. Every paycheck, every birthday, every extra shift I picked up. And you took it? All of it, Clara, my father started. No, my grandfather's voice cut through the room like a blade. Let her finish. My father's mouth closed. I pulled out the bank statements and spread them across the table. 8 months of withdrawals. Thousands of dollars. My money spent on Julian's equipment. Your furniture. Your trips. I pulled out the loan papers. And when that wasn't enough, you decided to take out loans in my name. Without asking me. Without telling me. My mother reached for the papers, her hands shaking. We were going to tell you when. My voice rose for the first time. When were you going to tell me? Before or after you destroyed my credit? Before or after you stole my future? We didn't steal anything, my father said, his voice tight. That money was in a family account with my name on it. My social security number. My deposits. I looked at him directly. You told me it was mine. You told me you were keeping it safe. We needed it for Julian, my mother said desperately. You don't understand how competitive his field is, and my field isn't. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I've been working since I was 15. I've paid for everything myself because you told me to be independent. But Julian gets everything handed to him, and I'm supposed to just, what, be fine with it? Julian set down his fork. I didn't know. He looked genuinely shocked. Clara, I swear, I didn't know it was your money. I believed him. That was the worst part. He'd never had to know. He'd never had to worry about money or sacrifice or whether he'd be able to afford his dreams, because I'd been sacrificing for him without even knowing it. This ends now, my grandfather said, his voice hard. You're going to return every penny you took from Clara. Every single penny. We don't have it, my father said. It's been spent. Then you'll get it, my grandfather said. Sell something. Take out a loan in your own name. I don't care. But you will pay her back, and the loan applications. I asked quietly. My parents exchanged a glance. Destroy them, my grandfather said, in front of us. Right now. My mother reached for the papers with shaking hands. And if you ever, my grandfather continued, his voice dropping to something dangerous, ever access Clara's accounts again, or attempt to take out loans in her name, I will personally ensure you're charged with fraud and financial abuse. Do you understand? My father's jaw clenched. You're being dramatic, am I? My grandfather pulled out his phone. Because I have a lawyer on speed dial who'd be very interested in these documents. And I'm sure the bank would be interested to know about the forged signatures. The room went silent. We understand. My mother finally whispered. I watched them tear up the loan applications. Watched the pieces fall onto the table like snow. Then I stood up. I'm leaving, I said. Clara. Wait, my mother reached for me. No, I stepped back. I'm done. I'm done being quiet. I'm done being invisible. I'm done sacrificing myself for a family that never saw me as worth investing in. You're still our daughter, my father said. Then you should have treated me like one. I picked up my folder, my evidence, my proof that I wasn't crazy or ungrateful or selfish. I walked out of that house with my grandfather beside me, and I didn't look back. They paid me back in installments. It took 3 months. The money appeared in my account, a new account, at a new bank, that only I had access to. Intense, bitter deposits. My mother called twice. I didn't answer. My father sent an email. I deleted it without reading. Julian showed up at my new apartment, the one I'd found on my own, paid for with my returned money 3 weeks after the dinner. I'm sorry, he said. He looked smaller somehow. I really didn't know. I know, I said. And I did. They always made everything so easy for me. I never questioned where the money came from. I should have. Yes, I agreed. You should have. He stood there, awkward and uncertain. Can we fix this? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe, I said finally. But not right now. Right now I need space. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not busy making myself small for everyone else. He nodded. Okay. When you're ready. If I'm ready. I corrected gently. He left. I closed the door and looked around my apartment, small, modest, mine. Every piece of furniture I'd chosen. Every bill I paid. Every decision I made, for 21 years, I'd been the invisible daughter, the responsible one, the one who didn't need anything because everyone else needed so much. I'd learned to be quiet, to be small, to disappear but standing in my own space, holding boundaries I'd never been allowed to have. I realized something. I didn't want to be invisible anymore, and I didn't have to be. My grandfather calls every Sunday. We have dinner, just the two of us. He asks about my nursing classes, about my life, about me. And I talk. I take up space. I let myself be seen. My parents haven't tried to contact me in 2 months. Sometimes I wonder if they ever really saw me at all, or if I was always just a means to an end, a resource to be used until there was nothing left. I don't have answers yet, but I have something better. I have myself back, and that's enough.